my last show on this earth.
And hot mic.
Good.
You don't even
Hopefully it's Dante's Peak lava hot. I'm gonna recreate that scene, me walking in that acid river.
God.
What's up, everybody? Wednesday night PGA Live Before Lock is here from Awesemo.com. I am Ben Rasa. That is my good friend Eric Lindquist. We are ready to go. We are refreshed. We're feeling good tonight. Northern Trust. It is playoff time. Playoff golf. Eric, my friend, how are you doing? How was your trip? It seemed like a good time.
It was a fantastic time. Vegas
Great.
could not have been better. Was able to do some sports books, some craps, some roulette. I got to dabble in a little bit of all the good things, all the fun things in life, but mainly the sports book was able to, kind of be a profitable spot as well as craps for sure. I know I just brought that up, but man, you were just killing me before the show. You are on an all-time heater, if I do recall.
Yeah, that's one way to classify it, but you would reverse one word in that sentence and it would be quite accurate. But you know what?
Train wreck.
We're gonna put all that energy into the Northern Trust here. We have a really good field. We have a really good course. I like Liberty National a lot. And there's a ton to break down here. We've got a great chat as usual, and we are ready to dive into it. Before I get into the weather and the withdrawals, I do want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Monkey Knife Fight, who have been sponsoring this show all year, and they've been doing a great job over there. If you haven't gone over, now's the time to do it because NFL is about to get started. It's not just golf, player prop based contest. You choose your buy-ins, your levels, your contest types, everything that you do, and it's just a little different than what we see on a week to week, and that is why we're really excited to talk about it. So go to monkeyknifefight.com, use that promo code Awesemo, and you'll get an instant first match deposit bonus up to $100 to sign up today. All right, it's playoff time. We got a slightly smaller field. I don't see much to talk about on the weather. I don't see much to talk about on the withdrawal front. Do you?
Neither. Zero. Let's party.
Good. Louis,
that's all.
Playing.
That's literally all I have. I have to say though, I mean, I can hear the sadness in your voice. This is not what I want for the rest of the show. We have
I'm fine.
57 minutes to turn that frown upside down, young man.
Oh yeah, that's gonna take more than that, more than rhymes to flip this. But you know what? I do like that we have no weather splits. It looks fine there. Louis chose to rest. He let us know beforehand. We appreciate that, obviously. I don't see really anything. It's a sprint to the finish. These guys are going to play several weeks in a row. For a lot of guys, they realistically know this is probably it. If you're, you need a massive week. So I'd be stunned if we see anything too crazy. And honestly, let's save some time and just move right on here. We're going to playoff time, as we've mentioned. All right, so let's just set the stage. The top 125, the guys who have retained their cards, who are in the FedEx Cup playoffs, are here. We had Chase and Hadley slide in. We had Justin Rose slide out. Some drama last week amongst many things. Not even going to talk about the Henley situation and whatnot. I just want to ask you this general question. Do you look at the FedEx Cup standings when you're making these teams? Or do you say, all right, everybody's secure. It doesn't really matter where they're positioned.
So I ratioed one Jason Roslin pretty hard today on the old Twitter machine. I feel bad about it, but also it was a nice little incineration. He decided to throw out that Jordan Spieth probably is going to try extra hard. He should try to win this week because then he'll be top 2. No shit. Like, you don't say that he's going to try to win a golf tournament. What a crazy, unbelievable that somebody would want to win a golf tournament. That's crazy to me. But other than looking at that, other incentive, like there's probably guys who would just be excited to get to the top 70 for sure. There's guys who want to be going to Eastlake, getting that guaranteed paycheck, getting that opportunity to, no matter what you do, you could hit one golf shot a la Daniel Berger and then walk home, and you're still going to walk home with like 100K or 150K in that finale. So I think there is definitely something where they'll have in the back of their mind where they're positioned, but I don't know how you factor that in. I don't know how you care about that. I care about recent form. I care about course fit, and I just go about with my day.
I'm with you. There's really no way to quantify it. It's tough because you see a lot of guys, I'm sure guys who were worried about losing their card, they're breathing a sigh of relief. Do they want to get into the top 70? Of course. If they don't, they're going to say mission accomplished. I'm on the tour and everything is all good. So I'm not going to look at anything of the sort. I don't care about that. I do care that this is a invitational because that's going to make it a little easier to build. 6 of 6 will be elevated. And we see this kind of during the year. It's an invitational size, I should say, basically. I mean, I guess it is an invitational technically, but same concept, slightly higher 6 of 6. I think that lends itself to you're able to be more aggressive if you want, because the guys at the 6K range, they're not competing with 155 guys to get through. It's only 125.
Well, as I'm looking at our pro plays, because that's definitely one of the features you want to check out here on the premium side. I just think that for sure, you and I are kind of on the same. I like that we're on the same wavelength, trying to take some shots on some guys that are a little bit different, because I do think it can get very, very condensed in terms of like this 9K range is just outrageous. And there's going to be so many lineups that have 2, 3 of these dudes in it. And you're probably going to have what's quote unquote security. I think when it comes to tournaments this week, embracing some risk, taking some shots on some guys sub 7K, mid 7s that are a little bit different, not just your Shane Lowry or Sung J M that feel like more underpriced than they've been for a while. You know, Tony Finau 8,200 sticks out as somebody that people will be clicking on. I don't know. It feels like this is a nice week to go underneath 7K. I like that we're apparently on the same dude a little bit. That's kind of freaky to me. We'll get to him, but PGA Pro plays, the best way to see where Ben's landing, where Alex is landing, Jason, Steven, myself. Those are 5 pretty decent DFS players. I'm okay. But, you know, the 4 of you are just the GOATs. So I want to just throw that out there. Check that out every week.
No doubt about it. You can get a kind of a blend of what's going on. And I do think this week, more so when you get into these game theory and just like the art of building teams, I think comes into play. And that's something we're trying to talk about on this show. Of course, you got to analyze the plays, but you also have to analyze how do you build a lineup with 6 cohesive plays that, of course, stays under the salary. If you know how to get more salary, well, you got to hit me up because that's an easier way to do it. But unfortunately, you only get 50K to spend here. And that's really where we go. So when we look at the top of the board, when we look at Liberty National as well, what do you see in this course that could attract you maybe to the big names, to the scrubs? Like what do you look at when you see this course? We don't see it every year.
So you don't see it every year. We've seen it for some big tournaments here in the past for sure. So we've seen a number of competitions out here. From the ladies' side, we've seen a lot of competitions out here. It's going to play a little bit different. And there's some fescue you do not want to be hitting it into. You do not want to be spraying it left and right. You don't want to be playing March golf. You don't want to be playing war golf where it's left, right, left, right. You want to be straight and narrow. A lot of 3-woods that you're hitting off of these tee boxes. There's a lot of penalty areas that exist. When you get up to like the 300-yard mark, it narrows down quite a bit. There's just a lot of these holes where, and again, you see it constantly. Watching some of the practice round coverage and some of the stuff on Golf Channel, everybody's teeing off with a 3-wood everywhere. It seems like it's very strange how that's going to be such a premium here on this golf course. So many problems with the driver where you can run into some issues. So I am looking at quite a bit of just accuracy, trying to kind of factor in on some of the guys that have been a little bit better off the tee of late, but similar to most golf courses, all around ball striking, recent form. Nothing's really going to be super shocking, but there's a couple guys that I think maybe stand out a little bit more. It's not so much I think they'll be decent enough scoring, but I'm not going crazy with irons like I feel like I've done for 2 months straight.
Yeah, I don't see anything crazy about this course. It's not a super birdie fest. It's not going to be overly difficult either. Guys will score par 71. One thing that stood out, again, I don't think this is a massive factor, but you can quickly become, if you're not Chris with your irons, trying to scramble repeatedly here. These are not the easiest greens to hit. Mm-hmm. You can lean on your around the green game, and you don't want to be doing that. That puts tremendous pressure on everything. The 3 par 5s are certainly gettable with good drives, but as you mentioned, you have the luxury of clubbing down. You have the luxury of really keeping it in out of the thick stuff and into the fairway if you choose to do so. You got bent grass greens. Nothing really stands out. I think it's a pretty fair test of golf. I've seen, I didn't dig into this a ton. There's always been some rumblings around this course that some players don't like it. I don't know exactly why that is. I don't think that matters. It's just more interesting than anything else. But yeah, do you have a take on that of why guys seem to not like Liberty National?
No, I think what it is, there are a couple of like wonky little holes and green complexes. And I think you want to just be rewarded for good shots. I think they can put some pins in some interesting spots, but I don't know. It feels like a little bit of noise and overhyped. What happens is that you get a soundbite from like 1 or 2 guys and they may or may not be, top tier players. And then all of a sudden that's a trend. And I haven't heard it that much this week, so I really don't care.
Yeah, it's definitely not important to what we're trying to do here. More interesting than whatnot, but no, course is fair. Seems pretty straight up. Qual striking is always going to help you. You're going to have to make some putts. That's always going to help you. I think the scrambling aspect is something that I want to talk about as we dive into the players. And let's do it. Are you ready to get to the top of the board?
Let's ride, my dude.
Okay. We got Rahm. We've got DJ. We've got Spieth, Xander, Morikawa, Brooks, and Rory. That is 7 names north of 10, 2 north of 11 with DJ and Rahm. That's a lot of top end equity. That's a lot of win equity. Does that make you say, as you kind of alluded to earlier, I want to get some exposure to this? Balance looks good, but man, this is a lot of top end talent.
So you chop Jon Rahm in half. He's the highest owned player that we have projected right now in the field. He's 11.5. I don't know if the ownership gets there. I feel like because of how balanced you can build, it would be surprising to me. And there's no question that the form is outrageous with this dude. So who cares? Maybe that's just kind of the right way of looking at it. You know, Memorial, the guy was going to win that golf tournament by $1 million. So let's just call that a first. So in his last 4 out here, 8th at the PGA, Memorial W, US Open first, the Open Championship third, kind of spacing out his schedule. Now he's ready to ride. Like, I don't know, is he going to be somebody that you can rely on to just go out and get it done here? Probably, but I think I'm willing to just kind of take the chance that he's not going to finish top 5, top 8 in this spot. There's so many good players. That's the thing that we really have to talk about. It's just the strength of this field top to bottom and how spread out the ownership is. You can kind of play your dudes. And as long as you've got 1 or 2 pieces that are just a little bit contrarian, you can kind of go to whoever you want. It's a play the best players kind of a week, more so than we have most weeks. So maybe I should be higher on Rahm than I am, but he's the one guy I'm cutting in half. The big story of this entire week for me is I'm on Jordan Spieth for the first time in my life. I am rostering Jordan Spieth. I'm done with this cat ruining my life. I'm over it. I guess the WGC FedEx didn't really necessarily torch me. It was nice that he came out of the gate slow, but then 63 round 3 in showdown. I felt really good about my round 3 lineups until I didn't, like, immediately. The guy just was fantastic. And I just think his overall improvement with the driver makes me feel like this is going to be a fantastic type golf course for him. I don't think the ownership's there the way that it probably, like, I expected it to be more than 12.5% for him. And so as opposed to these golf tournaments where he's been 20, 25%, I'm happy to get to 20, 25% of him this week.
Yeah, he checks out. You mentioned he can mask some of his driving woes, and some of it he's masked by just straight improving. It hasn't been that bad lately. It is interesting because, you know, when you look at ownership and our premium ownership, it is very flat. And that's because there's so many options. All these guys are going to garner interest. Even a guy like DJ, who is not, I'm not going to say he's playing awful, but he's certainly not in form. He's still going to get some ownership. Now, I think Rahm will be double what he is, but you still have DJ. You've got Spieth, gold medalist Xander. Morikawa is as deadly with the irons as anyone. And then you get Brooks and Rory for salary relief. If you had to throw one of these guys out, there's 7 of them. Is there one guy that you say, you know what, if he beats me, he beats me? Because it's hard to play significant exposures of all these guys.
I forgot to DM this guy back. Somebody DM'd me earlier today about Dustin Johnson, and we were kind of going back and forth. And he was bringing up the fact that DJ had won this tournament last year. Well, it was played at TPC Boston. So do not take that into account. He completely murdered. He was also playing, exponentially better golf than he is playing right now. But yeah, DJ is kind of the pay up to be contrarian guy. I mean, he's the one guy coming in underneath 10%. I don't really want to be, I'm not going to be there. I'm just going to be off of DJ again. As you said, you can't play everybody. Morikawa, I can't not play every single week. It's just too good a form, too good of a player, best iron player on the planet. He could just punish you very, very badly as long as he's putting in any kind of decent regard. It's impossible not to like him every single week. Brooksy feels like the guy that it's pretty easy for me to be off of. I don't know what it is about him. He's just not somebody that I get to a lot of weeks. I mean, majors, people, I think, overhype that a little bit, where he only gets up 4 majors. Well, this is the playoff time too. And, you know, he's seen going through some of his results from last season, in some of the bigger golf tournaments, specifically 2020 coming towards the FedEx Cup playoffs. He won at got second at the WGC FedEx. And then in the playoffs, nothing really of note here. I don't really know. I don't know what to do with him ever. So I usually just don't play him. How about you?
Not really there either. Again, it's more product that to me, he a lot of times feels a little overpriced in these situations. The stats are difficult because, I mean, you call it bad data. I don't know what to really do with it. When outside of these majors, he really doesn't play that well. And he was lost at St. Jude, just didn't have it that week. It's more so opportunity cost. I like Morikawa. He is the number one candidate of someone who can just say, you know what, around the green, I don't care. I'll just hit all the GIRs. I will just go nuts with the irons, and you can mask it. And that's going to be a theme of some of my lineups are guys that are bad around the green players. It doesn't matter if you don't miss the green. You don't have to highlight that skill set. Morikawa has shown he can do that. I know I'm a homer for Rory, but I mean, I like him in the spot. Flat 10, dominant tee to green at St. Jude. He just couldn't putt and he could not chip. He gained 5.9 strokes off the tee, 6.5 strokes on the approach, and that was it. He came in 12th. All systems go for Rory this week. I definitely think he's live to win.
Yep, he's very, very live, and you can get some really fantastic numbers on some of the top tier. If you're going like I've been on long shots pretty much the entire season. I mean, that's kind of where I think finding the correct value, some of these longer numbers, if you have favorites winning, I'm not going to be in a very good spot. But Rory at some of these 18-1 or 20-1, wherever we're looking at him in some of these spots, 22-1, isn't that the last one that came across for him?
Yeah, there's some good numbers out there with Rory. Yeah, 22-1 is out there.
Ben, I just want to give you a hug, my dude. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Just because you lose 15 straight tiebreakers in tennis, 15 straight, it's whatever. Somebody in chat put in how many or what the odds of 15 straight heads coin flips are, because I was getting some different stuff. We need to know so Ben can sleep tonight for sure.
Is Rory on your betting card?
Yes, Rory's on my betting card. Scotty Scheffler at 33-1 is the longest number that I've got. I've got 4 players. Okay. He's the longest that I have. So I feel pretty good about that. No, we're not going to dip our toes in the Sam Burns deal. He went from 80-1 to 60-1 in a better field. I don't know how that works, but that's apparently how it works. Is you play well, you put yourself in the hunt, and different grass type. I'm going to stick with the Bermuda narrative with him and move on with my day, but no real long shots on the card this week. Love Rory. I'll just add that. How about that for analysis? Play Rory McIlroy.
At times that's been a hot take, which is crazy and is somewhat warranted at times with Rory struggling, but I think he's getting it back. The last guy before we move to the balance build, and we got plenty to get through. I assume you're just neutral because we haven't mentioned him. What do you do with Xander? He's of course garnering some ownership as he always done. It's not going to be massive. He's not going to be chalk. I don't have room for him. Do you have room for him?
So he's right now, if we're just looking at the sleeper, he's one of the best sleepers in this top end out of everybody. Maybe I should up my exposure to him. I'm not there right now very much. He's my 19th highest owned player. I don't know how you factor that or if that means anything to anybody, but not a guy that I was getting to a ton comparatively to the rest of this range. I think it's easier to get down to the 9Ks and kind of scattershot everybody here, or easier for me to feel like going Jordan Spieth and then kind of spreading it out in the 8 and 7K range. He's just somebody that I don't like playing that much. He always seems like he ends up higher owned than he should, especially in some of these type fields. I mean, we just saw some awful golf at the WGC, and I think it's a little bit of a trap for him coming off of winning a gold medal. We had talked about that, where he was the only person that I didn't feel good about playing in that top end, and that sure came to fruition.
No, there's no, listen, it's not a product of not liking Xander. It's a product of, do you want Xander or do you want Spieth? Seems like you want Spieth. I would agree. Do you want Xander or do you want Morikawa? I think we both said Morikawa. Do you want Xander? You want Rory? Like it's hard to get shares. I'm also playing a little less volume, so I don't have as many teams across the industry. But regardless, I'm thinking about it. Even if I was building 150 or whatnot, Xander would be someone, he wouldn't be a priority. I think those shares would go other places. The last question, and I assume you're very comfortable with this, 2 north of 10K on a team?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's room for that this week. Yeah,
there is, because we're talking about the top 125. We're talking about the best players. And when you have the best players, you better have some guys. I mean, I'm not saying that I want to go play Richie Rowensky and beat down the door for him. I'm not looking to beat down the door. Your boy, Anand Lahiri, the Indian sensation. You love playing that guy. But I'm not dipping my toes there. But I think that there's enough in the upper sixes where you're not giving up a crazy amount compared to what I think the field thinks they're giving up.
Yeah, I think this is a good week to explore those builds. You still have plenty of salary left. It doesn't mean go crazy. It doesn't mean you could just play anybody, but you can absolutely make that work. And we're going to talk about how. All right, let's move down a little. We're going to just loop this in to make the cut because that's such a fun segment. We're just going to bring it to the 9K range. Why not? So I'm going to rattle off some names. Obviously, we can discuss if you think any hot takes, any of these guys get clipped, shout them out. And chat, do the same. If you think any of these guys get cut, we want to hear about it. We've got Justin Thomas kicks things off at 9,800. He's surrounded by guys like Hovland, by Scheffler, Berger, Bryson's in there, a lot of other names. But talk to me about those guys. JT is on the betting card for me, 28-1. He cannot putt.
Well, the guy that I'm going to list off cannot putt, Scotty Scheffler, right off the bat, my highest owned player of the entire week.
Ooh.
I absolutely love Scotty Scheffler. So he does a little bit of everything well, specifically tee to green, 15 consecutive tournaments. If we count the Open, which we don't have data for, but I can tell you with his 8.8 strokes gain there and an 8th place finish, he definitely gained strokes tee to green. And then if you can include the Masters as well, which we don't have data for, but he didn't even putt that well that week. I know that for a fact. He still got a top 20 for me. That's all that mattered. But 15 consecutive golf tournaments, gaining strokes tee to green, really good off the tee, can spike weeks with the approach. And really what you need the guy to do is make putts. And we've seen a couple of good bent grass performances from him this season. The 3.3 strokes gained at the Memorial, a couple of spots where I think that this might be the kind of golf course for him to really go out, just ball strike McGee it. And then if he gets hot with a putter, there's just so much win equity for him. And I feel like it's just not kind of it's not 13.7% is all right. But like for me, I'm just going triple that because that's my guy where I just think there's so many ways for him to get it done. It's such a good ball striker at the bottom end of this range. I think Patrick Cantlay gets cut. Can I just throw that out there as well?
Okay. Any specific reason, or is just the fact that he's kind of been off all year?
He's been off all year. I don't know what's going on with him because it seems like somebody that we've seen some glimpses. Obviously, the Memorial, he got the backdoor W. We saw, at the US Open, he hit the ball pretty decent, at least off the tee, and he gained a ton around the green, it looks like. But I mean, I don't know. The putter is so hit and miss with him here. We saw at the WGC, obviously different putting surface, lost 3.6 strokes gained there at the St. Jude, missed the cut at the Open. Tougher field, just tougher for him to kind of find his way to the top, I think, just amongst all these other guys. I'm not saying that he's going to revert necessarily. We did see the 4 straight miscuts. He was just off in April, but still not kind of there for me. And I don't know what it is going on with him. I hope he gets it right because he's a fun guy to watch. I've always enjoyed his demeanor. He's very flatline, kind of keeps to himself. It says hilarious stuff like on the tee box at Hawaii, if you want to Google that YouTube clip, going to get his Mai Tais. But yeah, Patrick Cantlay, not my guy.
Okay, yeah, I have no problem with that take. I definitely like him more than you, but I'm not running to the window to play him. I like Scheffler. The win is coming. I think we all know that at some point. He's too good. Ball striking machine, just got to make some putts. Chat was asking about Answer. Very accurate off the tee. He just broke through. I definitely prefer Scheffler. I prefer Answer over Hovland's the one guy for me. If I had to throw out a miscut, I think that Hovland is kind of going back to his ice cold putting woes, and I worry about that a little bit. He's someone that if he can't be crisp with the ball striking, you better watch out because his around the green game is weak. I don't know if this is the best course. He's not going to pound it and overpower it. So he's got to be pretty firm with these irons or he's going to get into trouble.
So there's a lot of issues for his chipping. And again, I don't want to get into the mechanics of this and what's going on and what he worked on because it just sounds like I'm making stuff up, but it is what it is. He was over at the Open Championship, some of hitting into the turf with like a 60-degree wedge. If you are not sharp with that, you're going to look like an idiot around the green. You're going to hit a lot of weird chip shots on a firmer surface. You're also on Bermuda, going to run into a lot of issues if you're not completely crisp with that as well. I think that that's what we saw a little bit at the WGC as I'm just kind of looking at his strokes gained data, minus 2.9 strokes around the green there. As you said, I don't necessarily look tee to green as much at a golf course like that. As we said, the most water balls of anywhere on tour. If you're off a little bit, you can't really get away with it. You can't make it up with the irons in a significant way. I guess off the tee was still all right. 2.3 strokes gain off the tee, 0.5 with the approach. So the ball striking still there for him. Yeah, as you said, the around the green was abysmal. The putting was abysmal. The Memorial is kind of what you're tagging, that 5.2 strokes lost at the Memorial with the flat stick. That's problematic deal. But mean, if he's hitting it decent and if he's just kind of getting by around the green, third at Wells Fargo, I think there's some major upside for him still, but maybe he kind of falls in the Bryson DeChambeau category where we've got to look at him a little bit more volatile than what the field does.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no doubting if Hovland gets going, he's as good as anyone on tour. He's an elite player, but you can't have all these guys. The lower part of this range, you've got Hideki, you've got Berger. Berger has quietly just been fantastic all year. Ball striking machine. Chap brought up his around the green game is weak. He is a prime candidate to mask that, though. His irons are one of the strongest on tour. I don't know if he's going to be in timely scrambling situations that often. And if you minimize that, as he gained 10 strokes at TPC Southwind with the approach, if he does something like that, it's not going to matter. I think Berger's a fine play at this course.
Yeah, he's really, really good. I mean, what can we possibly say about him he's just been good the whole time. I mean, he's a phenomenal putter. His approach game is ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous, what you alluded to. He's getting by off the tee. And again, it's a lot of 3-woods out here. And I feel like he kind of plays well on these golf courses where driver isn't necessarily as important. Maybe I'm just targeting Colonial specifically from 2 years ago where it can be a little bit firmer, faster. But I like this golf course for him. And I like most golf courses for him.
Yeah, he's got, I mean, when you look at his numbers and his formula, it's very Spieth-like. Like if you like Spieth this week, I don't know why you wouldn't like Berger, because both of them are going to mask off the tee. Ownership is definitely a factor. That's true. But just on the surface of their styles of play, I think they gel pretty nicely. Both of them are going to try to mask off the tee and certainly make their fair share of putts. Spieth, of course, around the green is an absolute wizard, and that is a difference. But I don't mind him. Anything you want to say about Decky before we move on to the eights?
So I'm trimming. If you're looking at pro plays, I apologize. I had Patrick Cantley slip through a little bit too much here. I'm just kind of like going through some of my build stuff. There's so many good plays on this top end. And so it's really kind of building a narrative and really doing what Ben preaches all the time on these shows, building the profile of the golfer you think is going to succeed depending on how difficult this golf course plays. It's playing firmer and faster, having some good around the green games, guys who can get a little bit extra length out of it without having to really bust it. If you're looking at this golf course playing a lot easier, getting some of the Joaquin Niemans of the world. And I'm more inclined to think that it's going to play a little bit easier to kind of like be targeting guys who are better in scoring fests. I think that is also what like makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Like John Rahm can go low on the hardest of golf courses. I think you make the golf course a little bit easier. I think Liberty National should play a little bit easier so long as you're getting off the tee. There's going to be an opportunity to still make some birdies. And as you said, the green complexes can be difficult, but if you're ball striking it well, I think there's going to be a lot of birdies made.
I do too. But it's not to say you can't plan for a different narrative, even if you think that, if you have enough teams and whatnot. So that's something to keep in mind. We go to the high eights. You've got Webb coming off a week where you couldn't be better tee to green. He really could have and should have probably won at his favorite course. You've got English. Paul Casey's been maybe the most like upwards of the most consistent player on tour. Reed, Cam Smith, a lot of good scramblers. Adam Scott, who won last week, miraculous in many regards. Corey Connors, Tony Finau, Joaquin Niemann, and your boy Sam Burns. So a lot of different types of players in the 8K range. What do you see when you dig in here?
I mean, how do you even click on Patrick Reed's name?
He's finally rested.
It's a terrible reason.
What do you mean? You make
he's
like
never in good shape anyway. I mean, he sucked. He's just being bad right now. I don't want to play him. I don't want to play him, and I'll let everybody else want to click his name. It feels like you got to figure out. Maybe this is. I'm curious. What do you think about this? I think it's almost more important to eliminate the right players out of your pool this week than it is to get the right players correct. And I know that sounds stupid because, of course, you need to win a golf tournament, do it that way, but I think being able to find a way to trim your pool, because there are so many guys here. For me, taking Finau and Reed just completely out of the mix feels like the right way for me to go. The form has been so bad. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I had said it 2-3 months ago. Patrick Reed's laid off at the top of his golf swing. And if he's not getting off the tee, it doesn't really matter on some of these golf courses. Like he can have the best short game in the world and be immaculate with that. But you still, to make birdies and win on the PGA Tour, you better be hitting the ball at least decent. He has been so bad off the tee. That club's so laid off at the top. I don't know who he's working with, what his coach is doing with him, but it's broken right now and he needs to fix something really, really fast. It has moments where it's locked in, but it's generally on something like the Travelers, Rocket Mortgage, whatever. And he still only got 25th and 32nd at those golf tournaments. Travelers mainly because he had like an outlier putting week, but I don't know. I don't want to be clicking on his name. I don't want to click on Tony Finau's name. And then it gets very, very dicey because if you go to somebody like Harris English, he's now up to 8,800 here. But if you group it just in the last 50 rounds, best putter on bent grass, Harris English. It's freaky that I like him as much as I do, considering the number's 8,800. But I think now you kind of have the price being appropriate to him. I don't have to play him or fade him as chalk. What are you doing with him specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. My biggest concern is more that you said it. It's that he's priced appropriately, so you're not really getting much value per se. Like he needs to continue doing what I would view as an outlier putting performance to maintain his value, and that puts a lot of strain on it. I'm not staunchly against the play. I know Harris English is a lot of times someone that, and it can be to my detriment, I don't get to a lot. And he was great at St. Jude. I don't mind the course for him. I just like Paul Casey more. I'm going to lean on the ball striking. He has been just fantastic all year. There's nothing to say. The guy, he's gained more than 4 strokes on the approach in 5 straight events. I mean, that's
stupid.
That's ridiculous. So I look to him. I have no pushback on what you said about Reed. Right now, you really aren't seeing signs. The only thing you could back is just blind pedigree because he's Patrick Reed. But that's a risky game in a field this strong. There's a lot of guys who are also big names and they're just playing better. So
I like how Adam Scott has one good week here. Like, well, one good week. And all of a sudden he's mid 8Ks, pulling 15%. I don't understand. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Isn't he another fade contender? Like we need to throw him in that mix?
It's not like, oh, I don't like him at all, but I'm more with you than not that, yeah, I mean, last week, a miraculous situation. He had the tournament won.
Mm-hmm.
He had a one, and then he just pulled the full Adam Scott. It's just, he played great. Don't get me wrong, but you got to make that putt. You have to make that putt.
Yep, you have to. And it's been his MO his entire career. But yeah, I do not want to click on Reed's name. Mike Campbell. No, we do not. I don't want to do it. I don't. What? I don't even know what that says. That's the weirdest stuff in the entire world.
Anyway, Neiman is the guy that I like. 8,100 specific narrative. I think the course is going to be pretty easy on the easier side. Not a birdie fest per se, but I don't think if you're a weak scrambler, you will necessarily be exposed. If he doesn't have it, if he's not crisp with the irons, it could get ugly quickly because he is one of probably the worst scrambler we've talked about so far. He's an elite scorer. He can get crazy hot. He's a good putter too. This is not someone that is deficient on the greens. It's just getting up and down at times. I like Neiman at 81. I think that he is someone, if you get the right conditions and you get the best version of him, he is someone that will be on the first page of the leaderboard.
Yep. Yeah, you and I are in lockstep on him. I think that this golf course, with the way that I'm building, I just think that it sets up really, really well for his upside. Sure, he probably has higher missed cut equity on the bottom end of this than anybody there, but I think the times that he's going to pay you off at this ownership is worth that investment. I think it's worth getting over top of here. Absolutely love him in this spot.
Before we move to the 7K range, anything you want to say about Sam Burns? I know he's your guy.
He's my guy because he just completely went hamsy and almost backdoor W'd for me. Oh, that was still so gross. 80-1 outrights, 80-1 everywhere. But here's the thing about this is that now he's 60-1 in a much more difficult field, playing, an extra however many guys that weren't at the WGC that you're also putting into the mix. He's now 60-1. Those are the kind of things where if you're being price sensitive over the course of a season betting, I just want to throw it out there. Don't be pulling the trigger on it. Plus, Bermuda specialist, I'm going to wait to see it on bent grass. I know that that's stupid to say, but he was making 20 footers, 30 footers like it was nothing. If he can prove it to me here on some bent grass, all for it here. But his best 3 results this season have all been on Bermuda. I'm just kind of riding that narrative here a little bit. I think there's certain golf courses he's going to exceed at, and this is not one of them.
I'm more with you. I definitely prefer Neiman, and they're similar in a lot of ways. So that just kind of covers all those shares right off the bat. So
same.
All right. Before we get to the sevens, I love talking golf. It's fun, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't sort of focused on college football and the NFL right now. And particularly for the NFL, if you guys, and I know a lot of you out there know, you're going to come inside the ropes for the NFL because it is as good as it gets here at Awesemo. We've got a promo for you right now. Go and get an Awesemo Plus NFL annual pass right now for 25% off with the promo code BLITZ. So it's a full season worth of Awesemo Plus player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, premium Slack, all the tools that we have, and it's for the whole season. And as an added bonus, you're going to get the projections and the depth charts all preseason long. That may seem like nothing. That's probably a bigger edge, to be honest. Matt Kajeski and the team are killing it. If you take the time and listen to them, you can make some early money before the season gets started. So promo code BLITZ, 25% off Awesemo Plus NFL annual. It's in the description of this video to activate. You can find that. If you have any trouble, support at awesemo.com will take care of you. But we are very, very excited for that. On top of golf, on top of college football and baseball and whatever else goes on in the sports world. Whew, it's a lot.
Look at you.
It's a lot. Anyway, we still have half a field to go here. We've got the not the defending champ, but the winner from last week, Kevin Kisner, who I have bet 100 times this year with no success. Matthew Fitzpatrick, Ty Hatton, Sunjay, you alluded to earlier in the show, Russell Henley, who blew it last week, Sergio. These are the type of names in the upper sevens. Is there a guy or a couple guys that you gravitate towards?
Oh, so I don't like the 7K range, but I love Tyrrell Hatton. So
Yes.
I'm just going to play a ton of Tyrrell Hatton. I'm going to play a ton of Matthew Fitzpatrick because Matthew Fitzpatrick's really good. And I don't think his recent form has been that good. And I'm hoping that now, because I'm getting this discount, I hated playing Matt Fitzpatrick as good as he can be up in the 8Ks. And now it just kind of feels like he's kind of priced in a place where I got to be pulling the trigger on him quite a bit. Under 10% in this spot is just too low for me. But Tyrrell Hatton, really the guy that stands out for me. This feels like a golf course where if you do a little bit of everything well, for sure, you can definitely jump to the top. But we see some of the upside that he's had, and at under 8K, I don't know who's better in this entire range, just from a quality of player over the last couple of years. So give me the long-term sample of Tyrrell Hatton. I'll move on in this range.
I'm more with you than not. I think you can look to some of these other guys. I definitely like Ty Hatton, though. Sergio is such a good ball striker. He's such a good driver of the ball. He is as bad as the putter as you're really going to find, but I don't know. I'm willing to forgive that at points. I'm not going to pair him with 5 other bad putters.
Okay.
I may look to him.
Yeah, you are. That's what you do.
Yeah, but that doesn't work. But maybe that is what I do. But you can't pair 6 bad putters up because they're not all going to flip on the same week.
That's your coin. That's your coin flip philosophy right there.
Yeah, logic, it's called.
Okay.
Hashtag logic. What about Sunjay?
I thought I was going to get to a lot more of him, and I've just kind of like soured as the week went on. Again, another guy that there's kind of a discount because you're getting to this type of a field, and I don't really like the current form as much. I don't really know. Can you talk me into him whatsoever? Nothing that I'm looking at is really kind of like pushed me his direction, mainly because Hatton is just eating up so much of my ownership on this top end. Not really doing anything exceptionally well. Gets off the tee decently here in the last couple outings. The approach can definitely spike, but the putter, I mean, you want to talk about bad putters in the last couple weeks. I mean, this is top of the list.
For Sunjay, you're talking about?
Sungjae's been really bad with the flat stick.
So I think if you wanted to spin it for why you could play him, one, his irons are consistently positive. Long term, he's a very fine, solid putter, no problem. He definitely prefers Bermuda, there's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the courses he excels on, he's a winner at Honda. He's had really good showings at Valspar. A lot of technical like readouts, a lot of, even the Masters per se. There's some around
Heritage.
the green aspects.
Yeah,
heritage. These are things particularly around the green I think will serve him well here. But you also have Poulter right there, who's an elite putter. That's pretty good around the green. You've got Hatton, you've got Fitzy. It's a pretty crowded range. I think for me, Hatton was first, and then it's like Sunjay, Fitzy, Poltz before we drop down. I don't like Kokrak, Harmon, Henley, or Billy Ho.
Neither do I really. I wanted to play some Billy Ho because it feels like for whatever reason he pops in like the playoffs, but that's just a narrative that my brain is telling me. I don't know whether that's the actual case or not. I just feel like I've always seen him at East Lake a lot for whatever reason, and maybe that's something to look into, but not a golfer that I like to be playing that much. the rest of this entire range, Shane Lowry, maybe the one guy that I do get to a little bit more.
Okay.
Just been consistent. And I feel like, again, if you know how to make all the 9K guys work together, you can tell me how to do that. But I think that I'm willing to just look at his irons, and you want to talk about consistent with irons. This guy's gained 10 straight golf tournaments approach. So I don't know how we kind of overlook that in the range. Somebody that I've got more than 10% of. So I want to at least make note of him. But most where I'm living is the upper sixes, the eights, the nines. And I think that that's probably the way that I'm going about it this week.
Chat society, we've reached the point in the show where Jason Day is brought up.
No.
I'm not even going to vouch for him because he's just been awful all year. I don't even know how he got into this, but that's neither here nor there. What do you expect from him? I mean, we really haven't seen him, and he certainly hasn't been relevant in quite some time.
The Travelers, he was more relevant than what he finished. He finished 10th. He was much more relevant than that. He got back issues in that third round because I remember I was sweating him hard, like anti-sweating him hard, I believe was the right way of putting it. He got some back issue stuff happen. I don't know what he ended up finishing for that round. Let me pull it up. But I know he started limping around. Not that that shocks anybody that Jason Day was limping around a golf course, but he started off, I think, much better. Yeah, 69, 62, and then 70, 70 over the weekend. So I am correct about that. There was definitely a flash there for 1 week. And again, if we start digging into 1 week sample sizes, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. But the Rocket Mortgage, it was still there with the putter. The Open, we're willing to forgive because, you know, there's people who play well in that type of layout. There's people who don't. I don't think he's ever fallen into the camp with his ball flight. Somebody who hits it a mile high, who's gone and kind of dominated there, which is ironic because Whistling Straits, of course. So, I mean, I think of that more linksy, but Jason Day, not going to do it. How about you?
Nah, don't see a ton of interest there. I mean, listen, if you want to use him as a flyer and think that he can conjure it up, he reminds me almost, it's not nearly, I think Reed is in a much better spot, but he's also more expensive. You're backing Jason Day as this guy was amazing, not that he's showing anything right now. Let's talk about the bottoms of the sevens. Then we'll go to the cheapies, do some hot takes, and we'll call it a night. You've got guys, Seamus Power was just brought up. You've got some bombers and Wolf and Vegas, Cam Davis, Gary Woodland, who was awful last week. And you've got the wild cards, Leishman, Griot, Tringali gets some love. Cameron Champ, who's a guy that you've had a good pulse on here and there. What do you do with these guys? Do you round out some lineups in the low sevens and go balanced?
Yeah, you do. You play a couple of these guys down here, but I don't think I'm over the field. I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly. Just fact checking myself. I don't think I'm over the field on anybody other than Charlie Hoffman in this range. So I have 7K Charlie Hoffman is the only one that I believe. Yes, I've got 14% of him. Nope, I lied. I've got 10% of him. So Charlie Hoffman, somebody at 7K that I think is probably going to be more of a stance here for me. Hasn't been very good here. That's just kind of what I'm going to start off with, is that we've seen the last, 3-4 weeks. It's been abysmal, but Charles Schwab, there was such a ridiculous peak in form with those irons. And we're talking about just kind of reverting back to it. We haven't seen him since the Open here. If he fixes those irons, I mean, we're talking about 7.9, 8.2, 6.6 strokes gained approach in a number of these spots. That's all good enough where if the putter flips or something where you have actual win equity with him. And I'm not going to bet him as an outright whatsoever because I said I already wasn't going to go to that part, but I think a high finish equity for sure, because Charlie Hoffman was just putting it on at the beginning of this season. I think a couple, like a month and change off for him is probably going to do him well. I like going to Charlie Hoffman just because nobody else is.
Yeah, I think there's decent tournament plays down here. Honestly, if you can stomach it, I don't mind holding on with Woodland. I know he really burnt people last week.
Yeah.
His short game is great. He's just got to fix what should be his strength of his game off the tee and with the irons. I do like, I've said this a lot about Gary Woodland. It's counterintuitive. I actually like him when he's forced to club down a little and not be aggressive off the tee. It sets him up better and he can get going and get rolling. I love Seamus, but I have, knock on wood, a pretty good pulse with him. I didn't like him last week. I'm not going to play him here either. Okay. It's just a strong field. He's had a great run. Now he's really up against the best of the best, though. It's not to say he can't handle it, but you're getting more bang for your buck with Charlie Hoffman, with Gary Woodland, or even guys right above him. I'd rather play Grace, Homa, Griot, all those guys.
Yeah, you flat out called that. And I just, if my CSV had uploaded, I would have been going down with the Seamus Power train. if I had noticed such things didn't happen, maybe 3:45 a.m. isn't where you should be on a Wednesday night in
maybe it
Vegas,
is.
but I digress. Looking at your phone, being like, oh, my lineups didn't get uploaded. Good thing I didn't check on that for 7 hours. Whatever. Womp, womp, womp. But yeah, Seamus Power, I just am going to give the floor to you with him, because otherwise I would just mindlessly play him here this week. But I don't think that is going to be what I end up doing now.
I like it. All right. We've got about 15 minutes left. It is time for salary savers. We're going to the sixes. We're going to get egregious. Before I do, are we sleeping on Phil? I'm either in a coma on Phil or we don't need to talk about him. I don't see it. I'll be honest. Do you have any Phil interest before we move on?
Robin Williams. What year is it?
Yeah,
like,
Phil, just no. It's a no for me. He was better than I thought at St. Jude, but I still have no interest.
Yeah, we're not sleeping on Phil. Phil had the most outlier of outliers, and congratulations to him for the W and whoever won the Millie that week. Please,
he didn't
keep
have Phil,
it.
I'm sure, because that would be too egregious.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty sure if we go back and look,
he probably did. It's true. People got crystal balls. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I do want to give a quick shout out just because I gave a NFL read, and that one is very important. It's a great promo. We have a new, and it's not that new anymore, but there is a betting podcast, college football centric, me and Matt Kajeski, each and every week, called Betting You. You can find it on Apple. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It is an absolute blast. We're having such a good time. We've been going through the conferences, talking win totals, sleeper teams, all of Matt's knowledge you can soak up there. And next week is week 0. We're going to be talking spreads, favorite bets, DFS plays, everything you want to know. So, of course, on the Awesemo Odds channel, you're going to get the VODs and everything that we offer for our college football package. Depth charts are posted for free on the site. But give Betting You a listen if you're a college football fan. I really think you'll enjoy it. One of my favorite shows to do each and every week. So just wanted to give that a quick shout out before we move to the cheapies. I'm just going to get things started here. I like Maverick McNeely a lot. 6,900. He's a great putter. He's playing well. He's shown flashes all year. My favorite pay down option, bar none.
Mine too. It's ridiculous. And not to cheat right off the bat, because I had looked at the pro plays and I knew that we were going to get to this guy. Have we probably talked more about Maverick McNeely than any other sub 7K player the entire season?
Yeah, I mean, Lahiri, but that's probably for different reasons. Relevant 6K players, yes, probably okay. Maverick, and he's shown up.
Yeah, he's shown up, and now the form is just trending. It's trending. Yes. It's trending. He can spike around the green. He can spike with the putter. He can spike with the irons. He can spike off the tee. He does a little bit of everything well. If it all comes together on any given week, and again, just a well-balanced all-around player, you see kind of what happened at the RBC Heritage. That's kind of a technician golf course. A little bit more of this. Fourth there, where he was gaining strokes tee to green everywhere and went 5.6 with the putter. And that's the kind of player that we're looking at here. And I think upper sixes. So he's come off of, what is this now? 5 consecutive top 30s, 2 consecutive top 20s. I think it's 6,900. If we're trying to find somebody that could sneak into that top 15, make a bunch of birdies and kind of do well in a DraftKings scoring format, I mean, why not go to the guy who beat out Tiger Woods' scoring record at Stanford?
This guy, listen, we know he's got the talent. There's no doubt. And I think in the 6K range with a lot of options, he's one that, not to say you just ISO, but he's at the top of my list. Will we do a giveaway? Well, we do giveaways all the time. Stay tuned. Follow our Twitter. There are great giveaways all the time there. If you have the Hall of Fame, we got so many ways to get involved, Beach Life. So keep your eyes posted for giveaways. I can't do one right now, though. If Sabalenka would have won in tennis, I would have done a giveaway. She didn't. Spoiler
I'll do
alert.
A giveaway. If you get the first two, if you go to the comment section of this YouTube video, if you're watching this after the fact, I will give away an Awesemo Platinum month. If you pick the winner, so pick the winner, and then you have to pick a player underneath 7K that finishes in the top 10.
Look at this.
If there's no golfer that finishes underneath 7K in the top 10, I apologize.
Well, then it'll roll for next week.
Yeah, we'll roll it over. And then there'll be 2 months of Awesemo Plus, and I will roll it in. I'll make it progressively easier than that, because I think that that's kind of a stretch to pick the winner.
I don't even know what
to go underneath the 7K. It's more likely than rolling heads 15 times in a row. I will tell you that. So at least there's that. But no, shots fired.
Yeah, I like it. So there you go. You got to hit the like button on the video. But yeah, leave that in the comments section. And if you do that and you pick that winner, you will be in a draw with whoever else does it, and we'll give away a free month next week.
There will only be one person who does it. If
that's why we're going to do it. You got to hit it. and then we'll do a draw. Good thinking. This is why we pay you the big bucks.
Thank you so much. Just on the fly.
Who else do you, because you're going to need more cheapies than just Maverick, and he's basically a 7K player. Who else do you look to as we try to save some salary?
Yeah, so the guys that I would kind of be targeting, Charles Schwartzel, 6,900, a guy that you bring up every single week. I don't want to steal your thunder, but talk about somebody back from the dead, and then he went dead at Wyndham. How was that for you? Did that feel nice?
What? I'm sorry.
Did you roster him at the Wyndham?
Who? Charles
Schwartzel.
Oh yeah, felt great. That's my kind of ideal cut sweat. Just not even close. Just close the laptop. That is fantastic. That is a step up for me. It was beautiful because Henley led the first, second, and third round.
And didn't top 5.
No, he didn't. No, we didn't.
Unreal. But anyway, second at the 3M behind Cam Champ there. Ended up in that second place spot, that tie for second. Barbasol, 26, US Open 19th. I mean, we've seen some really, really good form. Let's just write off one bad tournament, go right back to the well upper 6. So 6,900 for him. Feels like a really nice number to beginning. And looking at the rest of this range, I mean, Higo, we know the kind of upside he can have. I would just rather go to Schwartzel here at this point.
Totally agree. He's just in the same bucket as Woodland. I think that if you can stomach it, just hold on. Long term, I think that's probably a prudent move. Chris Kirk, don't mind that. Interesting name I want to ask you about. Chad just brought him up. Roger Sloan had a big time week last week just to find himself here. I almost treat that like a win for him, and I worry about where he's at. I'm not saying he's not going to try or anything, but it's just that was such a massive performance at Wyndham. Now he's up against the best of the best. I don't hate it, but I definitely prefer the guys we just mentioned.
After that first approach shot, I thought he was the guy who was going to take it down. And then I forgot there were 5 other guys playing in the playoff with him. So that made it more difficult. But yeah, Roger Sloan, 6,800. Don't mind if you want to like try to make him like, he just played fantastic. But yeah, I'm looking at it more like you, where kind of an outlier. And also now what's the incentive going forward? Of course, he's going to try to play well. He's going to try to have good form. He's going to try the best that he can. It's not like he's not, but I just don't think he's that good of a player going forward. So I'd rather go to somebody who I think is a good player, like a really good player in Charles Schwartzel, and has proven it time and time again. Why not just click on his name, McNeely, the pedigree? I just think that that's kind of the better route to go. But if you wanted to click a couple shares in 150 of Roger Sloan, no pushback there.
All right, let's open it up to the real crazy plays. The Aaron Wises, if he could putt in the world, the Chez Reeves at 64, the Kyle Stanley at 64, any of these guys, Lebioda at 63. What do you, if you're really in a jam, how low would you go and who would it be?
I mean, you can, do you want the lowest guy that I have shares of? Is that what you're asking kind of?
Chesson Hadley?
No. Chesson Hadley, what's he at? 6,100, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I do have a little Chesson Hadley. I lied. So definitely him. Doc Redman, a little bit of too as well. 6,200. That was kind of the guy that I was keying in on. I just think that there can be some upside. The Palmetto, I don't care what we want to call whatever that is, got second there. And so at least there's some upside in this range for him. But really the guy that I'm siding with, and I want to get your opinions of, is Lanto Griffin at 6,300. I actually think, I don't want to call him a core piece or anything, but I have well over that ownership on him right now. And you don't even need to get that much to be over the field on him. I just think he's a better player than 6,300 and somebody that I just think could actually spike it. And I would rather click on him than just about any other name in this range.
Not going to be popular. I find it pretty interesting. He had really lost it with the putter and then he gained 3 strokes at Wyndham. It's not going to show up in the made cut, but if he can get that back, that's the catalyst for him playing better. Definitely a little thin. I think there's big miscut equity, but you know what? At that price, you have to incur that. Friend of the show, Slim, just brought up, I want to mention HV3 as well. He's also started to find it with the irons and the putter. He's just got to stop making mistakes off the tee. So again, these are names I think it would be really, really big mistake to build around any of these guys, to anchor a bunch of lineups to any of them. But you can sprinkle down here. And if you want to go north double 10K, I don't mind at all taking one of these guys and just hoping they make the cut, because I think their made cut equity is much higher than a given week just because of the product of the field.
How about Hank Lebioda? Because somebody that everybody clicked on 50 million times a day has back-to-back tournaments where he just looks piss poor. He's still 3%, but I think even just getting to him in 4 or 5% of lineups, crazy amount of putting upside that exists with this guy, like to an irrational extent. You and I were like reverse tilting him, praying to God that he just wouldn't find it. He hasn't found it the last 2 weeks, so that's neat. But at 3%, I mean, if he had been doing what you've been doing for the last month and a half, 2 months, you'd be looking at a dude who's 20% owned at this kind of, 30% owned at this number. So like, what are we doing with him?
Yeah, listen, I think he's absolutely a name that you can look to. He's had a really good string of form. The shine, the luster is worn off a little bit, which is great because the ownership was something that obviously was creeping into ridiculous territory. I kind of like that more. Not going to force it in, but I think he's part of this contingent. I do want to ask you a kind of a technical golf question, or maybe the answer is you have no idea what this will do. Chad has pointed out, I saw it today too, Aaron Wise is moving to the broomstick. He's been that bad. It can't get any worse. Does that make you intrigued in a guy that I think it's clear ball striking wise, he's a better player than most of this range?
No,
Okay.
I mean, we saw the Wyndham and again off the tee, then disappeared. So if the off the tee reverts to what he normally does, he's going to be positive off the tee more times than he's not.
Yeah.
I just don't see that putter being a savior yet. I think jury's out here on Aaron Wise here going forward until. I mean, it's tough too because the collegiate pedigree is just ridiculous. Him at Oregon was a joke how good he was, and then came in. He's shown the flashes. I mean, we've seen even this year. I mean, the Honda ended up just going south on him on the weekend, but was definitely in the mix there. A couple top tens at the Wells Fargo and the Memorial, but long term here and specifically for this event, I can't play somebody who's going to be putting with that and has that in the back of their head. Are you pulling the trigger on Aaron Wise?
I mean, I think he might be worth I might look to him actually more in I'm actually betting more than DFS this week. I like the betting card a little bit. I think he's worth a sprinkle, not for an outright, obviously,
okay,
but you can get him for pretty big numbers. I'll pull it up right now. You know, even for a top 20 in this field, I see 8-1. I think that's a pretty good number. You know what? You're backing a lot of miscount equity. If he gets it going with the putter, he can easily finish inside the top 20 here for 8-1. That's worth a shot.
yeah, let's do it. Let's ride with it.
On that note, it's hot take time. Chat, hot takes. My favorite Twitter play. Yeah, Charles Schwartzel. That sounds sadly about right. Hit that like button. Do you have a good hot take? You are feeling the flow. You're in a zone. Can you parlay that into a made positive hot take?
Hot take. Dante's. I've been going less towards the Dante's Inferno or Dante's Peak. Grandma pushing the boat through the hot fire lava takes of late.
Yeah,
it's been good. It's been good for me. It's been good to not go for
week.
the one in a million. I've had a couple of hits here. You know, whether it was none of the 10K guys finishing in the top 10 at Detroit, that felt really good. We're going to go with something very, very similar here in that regard. I think that you're going to have 3 golfers in the 9K range that finish in the top 5. 3 of them. You're going to have 3. So I'm not sure how it breaks down in whichever order. We've got JT, DeChambeau, Hovland, Answer, Scheffler, Cantley, Berger, and Matsiano. That's 8 players. 3 of them are going to finish in the top 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lukewarm, nice, solid hot take. We don't need to get too crazy. And I'm going to follow suit. I'm going to take the same. I got Maverick. We've talked about him a lot. 12-1 for a top 10 here. That is a very good number. Identified it early in the week on the card already. I just have no problem with it. I think he's one of the best players in the 6K range. If he gets hot with the putter, you can easily find that. If you want more bets, the PGA Contenders video is live on the site. You can check that out on Awesemo Odds. Certainly, we've done our article with our expert picks, best plays, the whole team. So we've got a lot of that. But yeah, I'm gonna back Maverick in a lot of different ways. He's certainly gonna be a staple of my DFS lineups, and he's gonna be on the betting card as well.
Slim Brody said, "Hot take: JT gains strokes on the green."
That's
a great way to end.
It's just what my life has become. It's so sad that is a hot take. But we appreciate it. Fun times. It's Thursday Showdown plays. We got you preseason football. We got you covered here at Awesemo. Stay tuned for all of that and more. Good luck, my friends. Enjoy the first leg of the FedEx Cup. Hit that like button on your way out. And remember, we have so much content here at Awesemo. Awesemo fantasy football, Awesemo odds, everything in between. Good luck this week, and we will see you guys next Wednesday.